Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What Israel Is. And today I want to use the holiday of Shavuot that we have here to create some additional content and maybe something that is not quite relevant to either Israel or Jews, but kind of sort of it's certainly relevant in the current YouTube um, environment, but not so much, at least not directly tied to the content which I usually do. Um, though there is a connection. So I want to discuss the dangerous allure of conspiracy theories. The connection there to Jews is rather evident from um, conspiracy theories with regards to Israeli lobbies or the Rothschild banking family, or the protocols of the Elders of Zion, 9/11, um, a cultural Marxism meme, all of that. Jews seem to figure in rather heavily, and I'm not even talking about Holocaust denial. Um, all of those Jews play the role of the villain and figure rather prominently in these conspiracy theories. And this is why I think uh, it is not very common to I guess find Jewish conspiracy theorists, because there is a almost inherent distrust of these things. I think maybe in our community, in the Jewish community, because we know like how that we are very soft targets for these kind of things. But a couple of maybe a week ago, or maybe a bit more, a friend contacted me, and he was really distraught. He was rather anxious, and he told me that he looked into a certain conspiracy theory, and he was really uh, it really got to him, and he was becoming really anxious because of that theory, and he told me how it made sense, and etc. etc. And he just wanted my help, and kind of either tell him it's not that bad, or give him some kind of another lifeline. And what I told him, well, is essentially, I told him how it works and why it is that people, a lot of whom we consider to be intelligent people, maybe even scholarly adept people of reason, fall prey to these kind of theories. It has a lot to do with presentation. So let's take 9/11. I am not an expert on 9/11. I know only the narrative in like very general terms. I know essentially what happened there, but I don't really know the nitty gritty, the little the details of what happened on that day. Um, I don't know the number of victims, for example. I don't know that. I know the about number. I think about 5,000. I'm not sure. I don't know. Um, but I know the general narrative of what happened there. Now, if I were to just find a guy who starts speaking with authority about the subject of 9/11 and presenting me with details and giving citation, well, I suppose I would be rather impressed with that person and prone to believe what he tells me. Um, and this is precisely the danger of conspiracy theories, is that if you are not well versed in the topic that the conspiracist, or rather the tinfoiler, let's call him that, um, presents himself as an expert on, then you cannot argue with authority about the topic, and you will be prone to be swayed by his arguments, because typically tinfoilers will have researched the subject and have citations to show the narrative that they are trying to portray. And unless you are an expert, or unless you have seen an expert, a true expert on the topic, speak out about the topic, then you will be rather defenseless to the persuasive argument of the tinfoiler at hand. And this is maybe the number one reason why people fall prey to these kind of conspiracy theories. And then there's another thing, and that's that's Occam's razor, which is something which we don't really use on our day-to-day lives. And Occam's razor, to those not familiar with the term, it means essentially this. It's the brother of Occam was an English monk, and he came up with a method of coming to conclusions about things. And he says essentially that the simplest explanation is the most likely one, and as elaborate and unnecessarily so elaborate explanation the explanation is, the less likelier it is to be true. And this is really the number one fault of those who fall prey to conspiracy theories, is that they fail to apply Occam's razor. They fail in that they become rather enamored with how elaborate the theories are. And I find it funny because a lot of people who are tinfoilers will very easily apply Occam's razor with regards, for example, to terrorism or inner city crime. So they will say it happens because of the reasons these people say it happens. It doesn't happen because of other peripheral reasons. So they will choose the simplest answer to the question of why it happens, but they won't give the same treat the conspiracy theories with the same with the same kind of skepticism. So this is, I think, the second most prominent reason why people fall prey to these conspiracy theories. I think that the first thing one should do when you encounter these conspiracy theories is to look into and try and find out counter narratives, or look into people who have debunked the theories at hand, and try to educate yourself and understand why the theory that you are presented with is improbable. So all of this was spurred on, I guess, by the Carl, who has been outed as a 9/11 truther. Um, well, I guess I was kind of disappointed, though I've been disappointed with a person for a long while now. Um, I would just suggest, again, do it right now. Look into the Rothschilds and why the theories surrounding them are BS. Look into 9/11 and why the theories regarding that are BS. Look into Holocaust denial trials and look into why that is BS. Look into anything, any. I'm not even talking about the more out there, like, um, lizard people or whatever. Um, just educate yourself and armor yourself against these titillating theories. And again, don't try and recognize that authoritative tone, that kind of, and don't fall for somebody who has this air of expertise. Always question, always look into it, always search for the counter narrative, and weigh. Don't just assume that either is the right one. Just weigh the two against each other and try to come to your own conclusions. And that's all really. Until next time, have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you guys soon.